Hello everyone. Now in this particular video, we are going to discuss question number 18 of GATE DA24 exam. Okay. Now here I have matched the following type of question. Column 1 and column 2 is given to us and we need to find out the correct pairs here. But before that, we should know what is this PCA, what is this neo-bias classification, logistic regression. We should know these things, but before that we should also know about the column 2 part. This is more important. If you understand this particular thing, then you can easily answer this particular thing. I hope everyone has gone through the notes I have provided or the lectures. So if you understand what these three things are there, then you can easily solve this type of question. So first you should know what is discriminative model. Okay, what is this discriminative model? So as name suggests, discriminative. Okay. Suppose if my task is separate data points into different classes, for example. Okay. So this discriminative model is used to separate a data point into a different classes. Okay. And how we do this? By finding out the probability. Okay. And we can learn from the boundaries. So learning from the boundaries. Okay. So if I draw like this graph here, I have few data point like this, and in the classification, if you observe, this is my classification line and these are the few data point, right? So this is basically a discriminative model. So for example, logistic regression. Okay. So logistic regression is an example of discriminative model. For example, support vector machines, SVM, are the example of discriminative model. Also, decision tree. Decision trees are the example of this model. Also, I can say k nearest neighbor, that is KNN, is also part of discriminative model. So basically, it is used in a supervised machine learning. Okay. So I can say that discriminative model are used for supervised machine learning. Okay, I can say like this: supervised machine learning. Okay, and if you observe from this particular thing, discriminative model is what the logistic regression. So logistic regression uses the discriminative model. So I can say R1. So I can directly eliminate these two options. Okay, if I know what is discriminative model. Now what about generative model? Generative model. So as name suggests, generative model. Okay, so basically generative model is used to generate new data points. Okay, generate new data points here. Generate new data point. So how this particular model work? Suppose I have given a data here for this particular machine learning model. Suppose I have a data and I have given the data as an input to this particular model. Okay. Now what this will do? It will learn from that particular actual data. It will find out the pattern or distribution of that particular data and learn from different data points. Learn from different data points here. Okay. It is not going to learn from the boundary. So in the case of discriminative model, the model is going to learn from the boundary. Okay. So based on the given data, it will find out the boundary and it will learn from that. But in the case of generative model, we are going to find out the distribution of an actual data point, or we can analyze the pattern and learn from a different data points. So for this purpose, we use Bayesian theorem. So Bayesian theorem we use for this. That is what? Posterior probability is equals to prior into likelihood divided by evidence. We already discussed this in the machine learning as well as in AI. Okay. So based on the Bayesian networks, so using the Bayesian network, this model learns from it. So for example, if you talk about example, this neo-bias classification is an example of generative model. I can also say Bayesian network, what we have discussed in the case of AI, that is also example of generative model. Then hidden Markov model or Markov model is also example of this generative AI. This generative model, right? So basically it is used to generate a new data point. That is what a generative model is. I hope you understand the simple difference between generative model and discriminative model. So this is a difference here. So goal is to estimate probability of y given x. So here we are not going to use the probability of x given y. Okay, based on some function or data, we are going to find out this particular probability. But in the case of generative model, we are going to use the Bayesian theorem to find out this one. So first we estimate. So estimate probability of x given y to deduce probability of y given x. So what's learned? Decision boundary, and here probability distribution of the data that is given as an input. So here you can see illustration. So this is basically a decision boundary, and it is learning from that, and here you can see a distribution of the data here. So examples are logistic regression, support vector machine, decision tree, KNN, all are example of discriminative model. So you can note it down, very important thing, this particular thing. And then generative model is basically Naive Bayes, Bayesian network, hidden Markov model or Markov model. So these are the few example of generative model. Okay, so if I go back to question now, logistic regression is discriminative model, Naive Bayes classification is basically what? Generative model, and the remaining is what? Principal component analysis, that is basically what? Dimensionality reduction. So if you see the option number C is correct here. Okay, I hope you understand what is discriminative model, what is generative model, and what is dimensionality reduction. Even if you have not watched the content or not gone through the notes, even if you have gone through the syllabus, okay, just syllabus, you can directly answer that, okay, principal component analysis comes under dimensionality reduction. Even if you go through the syllabus also, na, you can answer this, that okay, PCA deals with the dimensionality reduction part, I can say like this. So we already discussed this particular thing in detail. You can watch the videos. But I hope you understand what's the difference between discriminative model and generative model. So, and PCA is the technique used for dimensional reduction, that is basically a feature extraction part. Okay. So I hope you understand the video solution of this particular question. Thank you.